Hello guys, interview number 3 with our amazing level designer. Introduce yourself briefly.
Hey guys, my name is Peter Turkis. I'm a level designer by profession and have been doing this for about a decade. I went to school for game design, which is I think common practice today. And I started my career working on Tony Hawk game, and then not the good ones, and then I went to work on MMOs, which is what I thought I wanted to do with my career because I was a huge fan of MMOs at the time, which is also in many ways why I got into the games industry. Mm-hmm. And I was working on the Star Wars MMO, the Old Republic, and then I went to work on the Warhammer 40k MMO that did not ship, and then I worked on Darksiders 3, Uncharted 4, The Last of Us, Hitman, and
in
now
Denmark.
In Denmark, Hitman in Denmark, yes, and then now working here at Starbreeze, Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So you did everything for Walking Dead, and the level design side.
Yes. I want to take credit.
You're the director.
I want to take credit for the good stuff. But I would say I had a talented team that did most of the things, and I was helping to guide them and build the pipeline and help them kind of articulate how we should be building levels as a studio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So, what's the level designer exactly? What do you guys do?
Right. Well, so I guess short answer, we create gray boxes, or some companies call it block mesh, and we're responsible for doing the initial layout for all the levels. So an artist would later on go and make it beautiful and make it pretty, but initially we are the ones that are responsible for the gameplay, for the movement, and how players will experience the game. So if you are maybe more of a senior, depending on the company, it varies. You'll also be doing the scripting and the kind of the first and last gameplay passes on a level.
Mm-hmm. So sounds like a little complicated, but sounds like really fun to do.
Well, yeah, definitely fun for level designers. I would say like level designers and I guess a lot of other departments also, but our work is never finished. It's actually probably lighter in the beginning as you're doing layout. That's kind of the really fun stuff. And then towards the end, you're not only scripting, but then you're having to polish all the features, and you're kind of the center point for all the stuff that comes in. So if you're a level owner, if you're responsible for the level, then everything will go through you. And if you're working at a good company, in many ways you're the producer for the level as well, which sounds funny, but like you are responsible for all the effects and all the lighting and all the scripts that are going to be going into the level, not as a lighting artist would be responsible, but as somebody who's responsible for the final kind of vision. So if in terms of gameplay, you want to see a silhouette or a shadow on a wall from a creature that you want to foreshadow, you would be responsible for kind of selling that vision to the lighting artist. Or if you want to hear a certain sound, or if you want effects of like water or whatever, you would be responsible for that. Making that kind of experience come true.
Good, great. So what's the good designer for the team?
So, being definitely biased, very few companies I feel like have like understanding of what it takes to be a good level designer. I think a lot of the time it's kind of brushed off as artists help out with that, or there's very rarely do you have this true kind of discussion about like flow and when I open this door, I'm going to have a reveal that's going to be this, and then I want to angle this tree, 7 centimeters into this, or 7 degrees, to the right, because I want to expose the next area where the players are going to be heading. Usually, it's a collaboration with many other departments, which is great, but sometimes like kind of the design gets watered down because the designer will sit down and lay out the level, and sometimes even kind of create a light source to help guide the player, and then later on, because many people go through, that'll get adjusted. So a good level designer will actually continue to kind of to explain and also get other people excited by his vision or the vision of his game director. So that doesn't get kind of lost in translation. And then later on, we definitely want well-rounded people. So you should also know how to script, and you should know how to not only do layout, but the more things you can do, the better. And obviously, if you can excel at them, that's even better. But you need to have a basic understanding of if I were to prototype gameplay and I need to have guys patrolling in the level, and I need to do have a couple of relatively simple scripts, simple logic, you should be able to do that and set up and kind of help sell your vision. And then maybe some of the really complicated stuff could be delegated to, or sometimes there's scripters or technical designers or other people that can help with the heavier lifting. But you should be able to do the bare minimum.
Yeah. Cool. And there are a bunch of people who try to be a game designer in the game industry, but all the students and young people. So is there any advice for them?
When you're applying at a company, man, it's hard. It's the like as soon as you get your foot in the door, it gets easier and easier and easier with every job that you have, and then you'll make a great game, and then all the doors will start opening for you, and then at a certain point, when you get high enough in your career, it starts to get difficult again because you are only willing to take certain jobs and so on. But in the beginning, when you're starting out, you're not competing against some other guy in your class who sucks, and you think that you're better than him, or you're better than him, so you're guaranteed to have a job. No, you're competing against me. You're competing against Sung, you're competing against all the other people that are sitting in the room over there making games right now. And, really, companies are going to look at you and your portfolio, and hopefully you have one, and they're going to decide why they want to take you and pay you less money over somebody who is more or less, quote-unquote, guarantee of quality, right? For me, personally, if I'm looking to fill, I would rather have one experienced designer that's going to help me with my team, and the bigger the team, the more I want that. Someone who's going to, someone I can lean on, someone who I can be sick and he can, help run things when I'm not here. Like, the more senior, self-sufficient people that you have, the better and the easier and the more accomplished your team can be oftentimes. I mean, you definitely want a mix of junior people and senior people, absolutely. But as a junior person trying to get into the industry, you want to make yourself stand out. So you absolutely want to have a portfolio website. If you're a scripter, it's a little bit different. It's harder to showcase your work. And nobody gives a shit about what you write. Like, honestly, nobody's going to, I'm not going to sit there and read your life story about, what you were thinking and feeling about your level and the images look like shit. Like, I'm just being blunt. You want to make your work visually stand out as well. So people are going to look and click through a few pictures, and they're not going to think about how hard it is for you or how difficult it was or if you were sick when you like, nobody cares. They're going to look at you and they're going to look at 10 other people in a row, and your work has to be the best. Ideally, it's video format. It's something that kind of grabs people's attention, showcases your work. Better to have less work at higher quality than a lot of stuff that sucks. That's just, instantly I'm like, okay, there's a lot of stuff and this is the best that this guy can do, right? Versus like, here's one thing. And and just apply a lot, get ready for a lot of rejection. But most importantly, just learn a 3D package, learn Maximaya. That's going to be huge. That's going to help you build. Look at tutorials, look at videos, learn how to use one professional tool set, Unreal, Unity, whatever other engines. I mean, you should have one of those and Maximaya, and then start figuring out, what games you like when you play games. Don't just, people will ask you all the time during interviews. I don't usually ask these questions, but I've been asked this, many times. You worked on, insert AAA 90 plus Metacritic game here. What would you change about it? If you can't answer that question, if you can't honestly look at a game that you've made and come up with a valid response, this is, oh man, you should have a million things that you would want to change, because development is a rocky process. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's
Totally agree.
You need to be able to be critical of your work. You need to be completely willing to just throw your work away on a regular basis. For whatever reason, your lead will come in and he'll say, hey, we can't make your level, done. Hopefully they'll give you an explanation, but if they don't, that's okay too. You need to roll with it. Sometimes it's because we are out of time and you can't ship a level. Sometimes it's because your producers are crazy. Sometimes it could be any number of reasons, and hopefully your relationship with your lead is good enough that you'll understand why you cannot do it or why you need to cut a section. But you just have to do it, process it a little bit, okay, pout a little bit, and then we're back on track and we're making the new thing, and that's it. And also it's there's nothing to be precious about. You will build more stuff every time you build it. You will build better shit. It'll be better quality. It'll be built cleaner. I guess I try to get my guys to always have good file structure, and some companies don't care because poor artists have to clean it up. If you work in Max or Maya, structure your shit. Everything is named, everything is labeled, everything is grouped, everything is easy to see. You can showcase your work to anybody at any given time. It's the same thing with scripting. You're scripting, you're commenting things, it's easy to understand. If you got hit by a bus tomorrow, somebody else could pick up your work and figure out what's happening within an hour, not within a month of reverse engineering the crazy shit that you put together in a dark basement.
Yeah. Almost same as a programmer.
There you go. You heard it from two people now.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So next question is, I think it's going to be complicated. It's about loot boxes.
I think I'm familiar with the Eastern model.
Yeah. I mean, Eastern model is you guys have Overwatch, but in the Asian side, especially for East Asia, we have 0.001% of getting great item, all the kind of loot boxes.
Gameplay relevant item.
Yeah, relevant item. It could be Excalibur. So some people say it's the same as casino. We shouldn't do that. Or some other people say it's not illegal. So what do we care? It's earning money. So what do you think about this issue? Happening all around the world.
I hate it personally. I think I think it comes down to what do we care? There's a certain amount of integrity, right? I believe that video games are an art form, so we're trying to not only just kind of line our pockets. It's a little bit naive, obviously, because we're a business first also, so we need to do that. We need to be successful so we can continue making games. Having said that, I think in general, kind of the Western, the Western side of the world, anything that's just gameplay, right? We try to earn that in the game, right? So you can progress, so we can kind of balance things better. Versus anything that's completely randomized. I guess hey, it's a skin, it's a new skin for your weapon, for your character. It's a new portrait. It's a new I don't know, forum icon, whatever whatever you want, whatever's going to kind of distinguish you. I mean, we have Blizzard has been doing achievements for a long time, as well as Xbox, or you've played enough hours, or you've killed 10,000 enemies, and you get something cool. But it's never something that's going to give you an unfair advantage in a game. And in general, we love to gamble, and it's just kind of a crappy model. So I think I'm buying advantage, right? Why would that make me feel good as a gamer? Yes, winning feels good, but you're effectively cheating, because if I have more money, then I'm going to buy a better gun. So anything that's pure gameplay, in my mind, of course, as a designer, is never anything that we should that we should be able to to pull out from a box in a competitive game. If you're playing Diablo, for example, I guess it's a little bit different, right? Because that game is also it's about finding gear that has that particular role, Path of Exile. I mean, there are games that do this. I think it's different if you're doing a competitive shooter, and now I'm shooting you with bullets that are 5% more damage. It's just unfair, right?
Yeah.
So and also based on that, I guess it's also, I mean, why so you guys play Counter-Strike, right?
Yep.
So why would you want to play against somebody who has aimbot? It's the same thing, right? I mean, effectively, you bought the aimbot and it's legal, and the other person is just hacking and shooting you through walls. But it's similar, if you want to be ridiculous and buy a golden AK-47, I don't know, I'm making stuff up. But if that somehow makes you feel better, well, I think it's a little sad, first of all, but I've been making games for a while, but this is absolutely a novelty model for me. Is it a successful model? I mean, are these companies are they able to keep retention? So they
only in the Eastern Asian side, yes.
But their people continue to do it.
Yeah.
They continue, they're okay So the response is, fuck this game.
You mean from the developer side or
no,
users?
like from a gamer. Like, if I got killed by Excalibur, surely they're tracking this information. Because I would imagine that's the response. I would imagine that 98 out of 100 players would say, this is bullshit, I'm done. And then 2 players would be like, fuck this, I'm going to buy a bigger Excalibur.
Yeah.
So this is a difficult discussion for me to have, because I'm very grounded in the way that we make games here. I do think it is better, because I think that's
why I'm here.
yeah. But but I think obviously companies. The thing is, companies do what makes them money in the end, right? Like in the end, like unless you start your own studio and you kind of venture out and you say, this is how my company is going to be, this is the company culture that I want to achieve. And at a certain point, when you're successful enough, if you merge with somebody else or something else, right? Like you really have to fight. Like I've seen a lot of documentaries and successful business owners talking about their company culture and how hard it is to maintain culture when you scale out. When you get more people, it just becomes distilled, because then you have to like make sure that every person that gets hired is the right person for the studio, that's going to continue your values. Like I think there was one on Airbnb, and they were talking about how they scaled outwards. I mean, look, like I don't know, like if you have a company of 2,000 people, obviously,
I mean, like
everything is going to change. But if you set out to say, we are going to make games that like all we want to do is create the most amount of profit, and we don't care how we achieve it, that's not a studio that I would want to work for. I mean, King is doing that right now with Candy Crush. They're next door. They're incredibly successful. This seems absolutely insane to me, right? Because I mean, this is probably even more egregious in mobile games. So what this means?
The main focus is mobile games.
But everybody has a mobile game. Right? I mean, like everybody has a phone. If you have a phone, you're somebody that the company should target. So why would a company be okay losing 99 out of like? I can't imagine. I would imagine that I would want to make a game where all the people on it, the median is higher, where all the people are investing, let's just say $10, than one guy who invests 1,000. Because, right, like the one guy, at some point, he's going to get tired of your stupid game after he kills everybody with his Excalibur sword. He's going to say, okay, what's the challenge for me? It's done. Like, there's, I mean,
they can making new items.
I mean, they can make new items, but at a certain point, you're like, okay, I mean, there's a tipping point of investment, like the amount of money and time that I invested. But really, if you're willing to make idiotic purchases, you probably don't care about money that much. I'm not a psychologist. I've never done this research, but it seems like a strange model to pursue if you can just already go after the mobile sector and say, hey, there's millions of people that have phones. Why would I not go after them? And then just make it so they can compete and they can and retain them. Like go after like retention. Like how do we keep them playing the game? Because that's the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
Like even if you made it to the top 10 games on from the App Store, like most of the time retention really falls off very quickly.
Because normal service time for the mobile game is like 6 months or 7 months. If it's 7 months, no one left, then cut the game and make a new game.
Right.
Just copy paste, like same, but just change a little bit about textures and level, and then they recreate the game with name.
I mean, they're trying to do similar dirty practices here, especially in the mobile sector. It's not as common in at least like. If you think of any big Western game, like that's just not a thing. Loot boxes are a thing, but nothing that you're getting out of them is going to give you some crazy advantage. I mean, if you really like, World of Warcraft is one of the few games where you have that, because there's a chance that the item that you get from the weekly cache is going to roll higher. But the base level of the item is dependent on how difficult the content you accomplish for this week. So there's some skill involved, right? There's like a gate that says, I've done this at a 7, I get a level 7 item. I did this at a 10, I get a level 10 item. And then there's a ceiling at which everybody caps out, so it's fairer, But I think that kind of I think those rules are important. I think that's the difference between like. There are no rules. We do whatever the fuck we want, and we design crazy things, and then make people pay $50 million for them. Some idiots want to spend money on those things, but you're also, you also potentially could be actually earning a lot more if you were able to retain the other 50. So make better shit, and
Yeah, I mean, like,
and don't put Excaliburs into